Good afternoon and welcome to our second Facebook Live series featuring the Indiana Miracle Offering for Global Health. Last week we had the opportunity to chat with Bishop Trimble, and he laid out really the groundwork for all that's involved in our Miracle Offering for Global Health featuring Imagine Malaria and also the Global AIDS Fund, two very important initiatives in the United Methodist Church. Today I have the privilege of being joined by my fellow Extended Cabinet member colleagues, Reverend Michelle Cobb, the Conference Superintendent assigned to the North Central District. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Thank you. And also Ian Hall, our Director of Finance and Administrative Services, or our Conference Treasurer in some languages too. So, hey Ian, how's it going?
It's good. Good to be here, Skylar.
So we're really excited that y'all are here with us, and definitely it's a pleasure to chat with you both. As many of you know, we get to serve with Bishop Trimble on the Extended Cabinet and chat about a lot of different things throughout the year. And so we've been involved in many conversations around the Miracle Offering and the value that it can have to us as Indiana and also us as a connectional church. So I'm going to get a little deeper with them and find out a little bit more about what they are excited for. Actually, but we're going to start with, tell us just a brief moment about what you do, Ian. So, while we have you here, we might as well educate.
Well, as you said, I'm the Director of Finance and Administration, or Administration of Finance. That also includes our Support Service Department, and my colleagues and I basically handle all of the administrivia for the conference. So whether that be in pension and health benefits for conference staff and clergy, or maybe that's getting the bills paid on time, or just generally taking care of all of the administrative functions of the conference, I'm privileged to work with a strong team that accomplish that on a daily basis.
And we're thankful for the Ministry of Administration, always, especially when the bills are paid on time, especially those checks. So, and Michelle, tell us a little bit about the role that you feel as a conference superintendent.
Thank you. I'm a conference superintendent, and I serve the North Central District. So in addition to being an administrative and spiritual leader, I'm also called to be a missional strategist. And that's a term that not everyone is familiar with. So allow me to define it in very few words. I'm the person who, along with my team, operational team, steps back and looks at how we can strategically position churches, congregations, so that they can have an impact on the mission field, which encompasses the district known as the North Central District.
Wonderful. Thank you for that example. And also, you might hear this term now, conference superintendent, which is a little bit of a new language or new vocabulary to us in Indiana. And so out of that, explain that for us.
For those United Methodists who are listening today and watching today, they may think of district superintendents as being geographically located in one particular area, being only responsible for that one particular area. Well, that's no longer the case. As a conference superintendent, we're concerned, my 9 colleagues and I, are concerned about the entire mission field, which is the Indiana Conference. So as a conference superintendent, I'm not just concerned about that area that I've been appointed to serve, such as the North Central District. I'm really concerned about the entire conference. So I bring that perspective, a more broad perspective, to the table as we do the work of superintendents.
That's exactly what we're about, is how do we look at the full picture altogether. That's great. So thank you both for that explanation. So as we look at this miracle offering and something that is, again, still new to us and we're understanding and helping to build awareness around, what is the value of coming together as a community of faith for this cause? What do you think?
I will tell you that today people are looking for examples of unity and harmony, and when the community of faith comes together, when the church comes together, centered around one cause, I think it's a very powerful witness to individuals who believe that the church really has no relevance at all in today's society. And so one, it's a powerful witness. Secondly, as our bishop reminds us, we can do more together than an individual church can do on its own. So it's a powerful witness, and it's an opportunity for us to support in a greater way a great need.
Yeah, I'd also say it allows us to impact on a large scale. It's not just in Indiana. We're talking about global health and helping those less fortunate than ourselves in some instances in far-flung locations. But I really think, again, go back to what Michelle was saying, together we can do more. And I think we can accomplish great things as the Indiana Conference. And again, keep on stealing your lines, Michelle, but that really then is a witness to the world. It's an embodiment of our faith, caring for those less fortunate than ourselves.
Yeah. I don't think it's stealing words. I think we've established are establishing a common language
Yes.
in our ministry and mission here in Indiana. And also, it's important for us to remember that as United Methodists, we're not just one church in one city, in one place in Indiana. We are a connection of churches that's connected to, those churches that are nearest to us and those churches that are farthest from us. And they're Methodists and people who are engaged in ministry and mission in the farthest parts of the world, serving, every aspect, from large churches to small churches to rural missions and so many other places that need light shining.
Yes, exactly.
So that's really good to know. So as you also think about, what is the, we've kind of established this hashtag of why this matters.
Yeah.
And so, in looking at that, we are asking everyone to think about why this is important. And so what's the connection for you of why this matters?
I will share with you that to know that I, one individual, can make an impact in the life of someone else is phenomenal. An ordinary person can join with other ordinary people and bring about a difference. And again, God is very much concerned about the vulnerable, the least, and the last, and whatever concerns God should concern me and us. And so to join in partnership with others to make a difference, I think is important. And again, it's not that it requires a lot. I'm sure you're going to tell us it only takes $10. The last time I drove past the Burger King marquee, it said 2 Whopper meals for $10. So, but the fact that one person can make such a great impact, one person can save a life, that is just phenomenal to think about. So that's why it's important to me, because I can make a difference, a tangible difference.
That's really good. Yeah.
I think when I think about it, I have 2 young boys, Elliot and Nolan, and when I think about the fact that if they were in a different location, a mosquito they could get contract malaria and they could die, that kind of touches my heart. And I think all children deserve, the ability to grow up. And if all that one needs to do is provide a mosquito net, that's not quite that simple. But if you can at least create that barrier, that's one less struggle that they have to deal with. And I assume, I'm a parent of 2 children, I assume that all parents have the same thought process, and it would seem very helpless if you couldn't do what needed to be done to protect your children. So I think if we can help other parents, $10 saves a life. Simply put, why wouldn't we do that?
Very important. Very important. And, I think about, for me in the personal context, my grandmother, who's no longer with us, was born in the 1930s. And, she had malaria as a child. Obviously, she lived because I am here to talk about her and still tell that story. But, here in America, malaria was stamped out around the 1950s. So it becomes unfathomable for me to think about, that there are still people in this world, dying from something that we've eradicated in America. They're completely gone. And also, too, in the context of looking at the Global AIDS Fund, what this story goes also to the story of my grandmother and a really great friend of hers, best friends, and throughout life, from their 20s on, and raised children together side by side. And I remember being engaged with that family and being in Charleston, South Carolina on a very hot day and seeing one of Miss Pearl's, my grandmother's best friend's sons, lift up his brother who was so weak, so ill, and not necessarily knowing what was going on at that moment, but having my grandmother explain to me that Carl had AIDS and how difficult it is to think about losing your child. There's nothing you can do about it. So in the cases of providing education and resources to prevent HIV and AIDS, and also looking at how long you can live today with proper treatment and education, and the fullness of life that is still available to you today in this world, here in this country, and many other countries around the world, but how it still is ravaging many places in our world. So I think there are so many reasons why this is so important for us to think about, just a few dollars can help save a child from malaria, and also provide prevention education for HIV/AIDS, and also education and resources to get treatment. And so, we are connected in a greater connection, and I think that's important for us to remember about all those different things. So, as we think about this, we've gotten lots of resources and different tools that are happening and coming around. So what are some ways that you think or have thought of that a local church can participate in this realm?
Well, one thing that springs to mind, my wife and I work with the youth at St. Paul United Methodist Church in Bloomington, and people don't know about a cause or an offering until you tell them about it, right? So one thing that springs to mind is informing different groups within the church, one of which would be the youth, and whether they decide, hey, let's reach into our own pockets, or let's do a fundraiser. Maybe they've already done a fundraiser and there's money sitting there that's kind of undesignated, if you will. Maybe they could choose to give some of that to it. And I think if you, again, keep on going back to the $10, but $10 saves a life, so $100 saves 10 lives. I think, at least in that context, telling people the narrative, sharing with them, and then giving them the opportunity to give, that's one thing Laura and I will be doing.
I would concur. I was thinking about the fact that we're moving into the chicken noodle dinner season. Churches have chicken noodle dinner fundraisers, and there's so many fundraisers that churches automatically have placed on their calendars. And again, in many cases, they're not sure what they're going to do with that money, and sometimes they'll say it's for mission. Well, what a great missional opportunity for them to use the funds from a specialized dinner that they've been advertising for 20, 30 years or less, and to use the funds for a great cause. Special offerings. At the church where I have a charge, I attended the Monday, Thursday service, and they took up a special offering, and that offering is going to go towards the global health offering. And so there are special opportunities within the life of the church, as you've said, various small groups who gather, United Methodist Women, who will have their spring events, just to identify ways in which those monies can be earmarked towards the global health fund.
That's really great. And also, as a reminder, there are several resources that are being sent to each of our churches that include a letter from the bishop explaining more about the offering, and also both initiatives, as well as a poster with an infographic of how this is impacting our world, and also remittance envelopes and bulletin inserts for two offering styles of Miracle Sunday offering, and also an offering that honors all the moms in our lives. And I have a wonderful mother that I am thankful for every day, so I'm also very sensitive that I also have several other women in my life who filled many different roles to give a fullness to who I am. So there are many types of people that come in as moms, so it's an offering for all those people that we honor, because the most susceptible to this current moment are children and women and mothers who are also affected by malaria or also HIV/AIDS. So those are things that are coming your way. Then also too, what are some of the what is it important that we do that's beyond the Indiana Conference and sharing this news about the Miracle Offering? How does that look with us in a connectional mindset?
Well, I think on one level, the global health is one of the 4 foci for this quadrennium as a denomination. And I think sometimes we learn and teach by example. So what happens in Indiana might happen elsewhere. So God can accomplish great things, right? And so through a miracle offering for global health, we're going to be able to impact the lives of people, predominantly in sub-Saharan Africa. And I really think that you may see some momentum here. You know, if we accomplish great things in Indiana, maybe other conferences will jump on board. Not to say that other conferences aren't already involved, but momentum, I think, is important.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Very true.
I would agree with that, of course. I think also because of what we're doing in Indiana, I think it helps us to understand some larger issues that maybe our legislators can address, and so to become even more involved with tracking what's happening in the larger world that we can give voice to make a difference. So in addition to the conferences, just looking at ways in which we can share the story with those who need to hear the story about this foci, that we're focusing our attention on, those others who can make a difference.
Very, very true. And, you know, it's also kind of one of those things I think is very important is that, you know, we have an awesome opportunity as Indiana, as the denomination that's greater, to have real impact. And because of, you know, our denomination and the strength of the connection, should be shared that through the global partnership of, you know, to end malaria, that, you know, we've taken it from a person dying every second to, you know, to that being to 2 minutes. So if you think about that and the number of lives that can die in a second, and then how that then changes to 2 minutes, and that's a significant reduction, and that's because there's awesome work that's happening, not just with us as United Methodist, but there are so many other partners that are out there working towards these issues. And we need to be a part of those conversations to have influence in how to, you know, make the body stronger and healthier together, because we're all better when we're strong and healthy. So at this particular moment, we're going to see if we have any questions from our audience. If there's anything out, we've got a few minutes left and wanting to see if you've got anything percolating. I'm going to switch over to where I would see questions. Let's see what might be happening. Let's see, because this is all technology, so give me a second. I need a new iPad even. Seriously, it's not. Let's see what we got. Anything coming? Wait, test, I know you're sending me things. I can see you typing. Oh, yes. Do you think there are differences between what a small church can do compared to large? What can a smaller congregation do to make a large impact? Ian, how would you describe the size of St. Paul?
I'd say St. Paul is we would describe it as a medium-sized church.
Okay.
We worship probably 200 on a Sunday morning. I really would, in response to that question, it's a good question. I think it is as simple as if we impact one life, I think that's a great thing, right? So $10, as Michelle pointed out, you can't really buy fast food very easily anymore for $10. So relatively small amount of money changes a life. It keeps someone alive. So I would argue that a small donation from whichever size church is making an impact. Now, obviously, that scales the more dollars come in, but I don't know that it's very easy to quantify making an impact. In my mind, one life saved is a really big impact. Obviously, there's it's about 190,000 members of the United Methodist Church in India, a little more than that. If each of those members saved one life or $10, that's a massive impact. And then that kind of removes it from the, well, Church A did more than Church B. If you take it down to the macro level of individuals, one person impacting one life, that's just under 2 million lives.
Thank you for that response, and I'm thankful for the question, because unfortunately we sometimes want to compete.
Right.
Or if we're not competing, we see ourselves through the lenses of someone else. So we think about, well, I'm just a small church, or I'm just you can fill in the blank.
Right.
But with this particular initiative, with this particular offering, it's not about just. It's about one person or one congregation, one person and one congregation, and a group of people saying, we can make a difference. And that's the focal point.
Yeah.
Not on what someone else may or may not do, but on what we will be doing.
Very true. Very true. Let's see here. Are there any plans for the North Central District to celebrate our district total once this offering is received? Well,
Yes,
Superintendent of the
there
North Central
will
District.
be, and I'm excited to share with you that in a few days I'll put in writing what we will be doing, because this is what my goal is. My goal is that every one of my 91 churches will contribute to this offering, that we will have 100% participation, and I know that we can do it. I know that we can do it. So yes, we'll be celebrating.
Yes.
Yes.
And we'll be there with you.
Thank you.
Hopefully. So,
Thank you.
yes, let's see what else we got coming in here. See someone typing. The anticipation is building. Typing, not typing, thinking, editing. As we think about, as we wait for this, I think, there's a lot of opportunity to celebrate. I think you've got, district gatherings. You could also, make that another touch point to, just throw in a little bit more if you want to. I think, one of the other things, too, is looking at how do you also share the word in your congregations, in your communities, in your workplace. I think in the end, if we really think about it, there's so many people who are just willing to say, for $10 to save a life, sure, I can part with $10 today to save someone else's life. So my congregation is more locally minded, in quotation marks, when it comes to missions. In what ways can I help them adopt a more global mindset? That's a great question. What do you guys think?
My response would be that I would hope that a local church that is locally focused would understand that it really is called to be glocally, which means not only being locally focused, but also globally focused as well. And I think you'll share more about this, but part of the offering that we receive will 25% of the
Global AIDS portion.
global AIDS portion will remain in Indiana. So I think that's a great start. So if a congregation is locally focused, we would begin there by sharing with them how their offerings can make a difference within the boundaries of the Indiana Conference, and then I would encourage them to continue to see beyond that local setting as to how they are making a difference globally.
I concur with Michelle. I think it's a natural feeling to feel like you should serve those close to you. And I think if a church is already serving a population, they already have a mindset of helping people. I don't think it's a great stretch to go from helping locally to helping those that you don't know, those further afield, whether that be somewhere in the U.S. or even further away in another country. I also think it's kind of a biblical mandate. that we should be looking after the least of these, and that doesn't mean in your backyard necessarily. It means the least of these. That said, I applaud the local church that's being missionally focused, even if it is just in its local and context.
Yes, I think that's great. And I think also, too, it's one of those, I think it's the question of who is my neighbor?
Yes, it is.
And, you know, is my neighbor just Ian or Michelle because you're next to me? Or is my neighbor also, you know, my friends who are connected to me all over this world in many different ways? And wasn't there some notable Methodist that said, you know, the world is my parish?
I do recall our founder saying
Yes,
that.
the world is our parish. So we have to be committed to not forget those who are closest to us in proximity, but not to also neglect those who are far away from us as well, I think. I think it's our duty to find ways to serve both, as there's need everywhere.
And I think, too, Ian and Skylar, that through this initiative, what it does is it helps us to see even clearer those who may not be in our backyards. It helps us to see that there are other people beyond the familiar who are a part of humanity, who have a need that we can meet.
Very true. And Michelle also brought up an interesting point too earlier, is that, you know, out of funds that are given to the Global AIDS Fund, there's a mandate that 25% of those funds stay in the local conference that they came from. So to do work in addressing HIV/AIDS in that context and community. And so later on, throughout our awareness plan and leading up to annual conference, we'll have some persons here from Indiana in the medical field and research field about the impact of HIV/AIDS here in Indiana as another touch point to really help us understand that this isn't just an issue that's just overseas or not in our communities, but how are we addressing that here in Indiana? So that's going to be really more as we start to dig deeper into this. So let's see here. Bishop Trimble emphasized addressing this miracle offering as a community. How can we encourage not just our churches, but our communities? So what do you think about that?
I think it goes back to what you said earlier, that we can begin within the four walls of our congregations, telling the story, sharing the story. But then as we go to our workplace, as we go to that place where we play and socialize, we can continue to share that story. I think that's one very good way of doing that. Wherever you find yourself, that's your mission field. So that's the story you'll want to share.
Yeah, and we've made it pretty easy for people to donate too, right, Skylar? I mean, from a standpoint of you share the message with friends and family, and then direct them to the conference website. And you know, as you said, lots of people would be willing to part with $10 to save a life. So it's an opportunity to share my faith and show how in practical terms you can impact lives. And then in practical terms, this is how you go about doing it.
I like the aspect of thinking about sharing faith. I think, a lot of us sometimes find it difficult to talk about what we believe and why we're Christians, or why I'm connected to the United Methodist Church. And this is a great way that if you've got something that's going on, to say your church is doing something that's really cool and it's having an impact. And to talk to your neighbor, your friend, your colleagues about that. Find other resources. Call us up, email us for if you want to print out posters or bulletins for your office. We'd be more than happy to provide those. They're also downloadable on our website as well. But there's so many touch points to engage others in this, and it really is about not only helping to save lives, but also helping to transform lives, both here and also abroad in many different ways, by doing something that is connect it to something that has so much power to transform the world. So I think we have hit our time. Actually, we are 1 minute behind, but I wanted to thank each of these wonderful people for being with us here today and just saying yes when asked to join us. So I'm really excited that you joined us, Michelle.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And Ian?
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, guys. And also, can remember, if you're looking for resources, visit inumc.org/global health for more information. And you can also reach me via skylar.nimmons at inumc.org. You can also reach me at Gmail. I just gave you my personal email address. But anyway, have a great night. Thanks.